And it sounded like it was a lack of cooperation from our department. So that with the lack of cooperation, they had to initiate doing our routine traffic stops so they can catch the little guys to get to the big guys. So I would like to sit down sometime this week with the chief of staff and the chief of police and the special agent in charge to find out why there's a lack of cooperation. And then also that we didn't have cases ready for them. So in order to build a case is why they had to start initiating traffic stops. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston?
You know, I feel kind of the same as James. You know, I think, President, you should have done that prior. I don't mind the BIA coming in and trying to help us address the meth issues. But you still need to remember that we still have 50-something police officers on this reservation. And you need to work directly with the chief of police. And I think that as the president, you know, what you did was okay, but I think somehow we should have been notified prior, the Law and Order Committee, that you were going to do that. Because the chief of police also really wasn't aware of it, that you were going to do that. But he also is not over the BIA. And he did tell us in the Law and Order meeting that there's only 4 of them that came, 4 bureau cops that came down. And right now, he's not over none of those bureau cops. It's they're under their supervisor, which I was told was Mr. Young, Algin Young. I think Mr. Young needs to come down here, and he needs to come in front of our Law and Order Committee so we can directly talk with him to see exactly what, a report from him, to see how many meth dealers did we deal with? What's the status on the drug use? I mean, we need to look at all of that. And I just think that we completely bypassed Law and Order Committee as well as Chief of Police. So I think from now on, you need to come in front of this, the Law and Order Committee to address those issues. I don't have no problem bringing BIA on our reservation, but we're only getting 4 of them, 4 police officers. And they're only stopping people. One of them said he got stopped because his taillight was out. So his taillight was out, and that's when they stopped him, and you know, down to even to the point of a tribal member getting attacked by a canine. You know, these are things that I think we need to understand, you know, exactly what they were coming down here for. You know, I've been on council for a while now, and when we call the Bureau in, it's because of a very urgent emergency. The last time I remember bringing the Bureau in is when we had the incident at Siouan Bikro Center. Some of you guys were probably on council with me then. But the whole thing happened over there. And at that time, we directed the president to bring in the Bureau cops. So that day, they brought in the Bureau. So again, you know, no problem. I have nothing against you bringing in the Bureau. But you still need to remember that we have BIA law enforcement, I mean, tribal law enforcement. We have 50-something officers. And it's good to come here to help us with this, the meth issues. But I'd like to hear a report from Mr. Young, Mr. Algin Young. He needs to come in front of our Law and Order Committee, and I think that he needs to give us a report to tell us what exactly is his 4 officers doing besides stopping traffic, you know, for taillights and speeding and anything else. We like to know, because I remember when Bureau came down last time, stopped people, never came back for court. So when these people had to go to court, Bureau wasn't even there to be a part of the court. So they dismissed those. Some of them were serious. So I think from now on, you know, President, I think you need to work with the Law and Order Committee, and you need to let us know when that's going to happen, because your proclamation went out, which was good, because we're addressing the meth issues. And it's going to take a while before we even can come to a stop with the drugs and the meth. It's scary. You know, a lot of violence going on a reservation, across the reservation right now. But I don't want to be left out in the dark here. People coming up to me and saying, you know, this guy got arrested and they threw him in the back of the cop car. He was a big guy too, and they just forced him in there. Where in the heck are we as council representatives in this? You know, we need to make sure that's not happening. So again, like James said, are they just down here to stop our people because of traffic? You know, headlight out, rear taillight out. Because right now, today, we have our highway safety that does that. We have Mr. Franks and his officers that go out and do the highway safety stuff. So I really don't like it that, you know, with all of this other stuff, you know, so we're going to keep them here for 90 days. Well, by God, we better get them over here. I want to see Mr. Elgin Young over here. And I want to have him come and give us a report at the Law and Order Committee as to how much have they found out? How many arrests did they do that were all drug-related, meth-related? I want to see a report that's all broken down like that. Not just telling us that they stopped somebody for speeding or a taillight out. You know, I don't want none of that, because our cops can do that too. So I'm just letting you know, President, that you need to know that we should work together, and you should work with the Law and Order Committee and making sure our Chief of Police is aware of it. So I'm just gonna put that out there, because we got tribal members getting bit. Now he's gonna be probably a tort claim on the Bureau now, that is what I heard. Whatever reason that's happening, we need to make sure our tribal council knows what's going on too. So I'm just gonna put that out there today. So if we're gonna keep him here 90 days, we better get a report from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston, and I will put that out. But you know, it's under my authority to address these immediate actions, which is why I put out that proclamation. I sat down with the Bureau, I sat down with Mr. Young, and we explored these options. Now, I think that most of these questions, I mean, I will have him come in and give you guys a report at the Law and Order Committee, but I think a lot of your questions should be asked of the Chief of Police on what are they doing, because I keep getting calls nonstop about the meth problems and who's doing it. Last time they came in, they showed me pictures of a 12-year-old girl that was beat up by her brother who was on meth. Her face was all black and blue. And what they said and I'll even tell you, because I'm pretty sure she'll come and tell you too. Tiny DeCory brought this to me. She said, President, she said, I sat there for an hour with this little girl waiting for the police to arrive, and nobody showed up. She said, so I called 911, and I told them, I'm going to continue to call 911 until an officer arrives. So you know what? I sat down, and I guess that's a lack of communication between you guys as a Law and Order Committee, because I had a meeting with the Chief of Police, with the Department of Corrections, all their head staff, the Attorney General. I sat down with the court administrator. I had the Drug Task Force team. I had the AO over the Law and Order Committee, or the Public Safety, and I had Mr. Yellowhawk, Councilman Yellowhawk there as the committee chair. And I told you guys all what was happening, all the reports that I was getting, and what we were doing to address the problem. And Chief Ecafee, you know what his comment was to me in regards to the bootlegging? Was, oh, we just need to legalize alcohol. I said, but you know what? As of right now, it is against the law. So if you're going to sit there and wait for us to legalize alcohol, that just tells me that you're not addressing the problem or doing the job. And I asked, in hoping that the committee or something proactive would come from that body to address this problem, and nothing happened. And that was in November, Councilman Yellowhawk? That was in November, and nothing ever came. Nobody addressed it except all the community. So that's why I had to take that initiative. So the Law and Order chair was aware, and then I sat down with Mr. Young, and I asked specifically for a drug task force team. And I told him, I said, I don't want no traffic stops. I have a department. I don't want to pull the rug out from underneath their feet. They can do that job. I did specify that to him. So whenever they started conducting traffic stops is why I reached out to these officers and I asked why. And that's what they told me, was a lack of cooperation. I have Councilman Laysbad, then Councilwoman Sears, then Councilman Yellowhawk.
Oh, thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to say I agree with Mr. Cross there and Sonia too for all the information that they gave out. And I do agree about the people concerns too. And to my understanding, the BIA is here only for drugs. And the thing that I had in mind was cluster housing. To go to the cluster housing with their K9 units and then sweep the areas to make sure that the mess is being controlled. But then I hear that traffic stops. So to my understanding, the way I see it, I'd like to table this and send it back to Law and Order, this resolution right here. Thank you.
Okay, I got a tabling motion. Councilwoman Sears.
I think that was just one of my concerns is whenever this issue came up, like now, we're hearing it from the people because that's the same thing. They don't know why they're here and we're hearing it. So that's why we have to ask these questions and so the people can know why they're here. And I know that traffic stops are really important because people carry drugs and the canines are used for that. So to me, I feel a little more safer when they're on the road and we see that they're stopping vehicles. But like we said too, there's a lot of people that are driving vehicles that are barely getting around and, they have cracked windshields and, little things like that. Those are the type of things that I feel, our people need to know why they're here so that they'll understand. And we have to deal with those issues too, because it just seems like our people are the ones that are suffering and putting up with this. The main meth dealers, nothing's happening. That's what I think that's what the people want to know.
Thank you. Councilman Yellowhawk.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a sensitive subject for the fact that, we all know who got stopped. They complained to us. Jurisdictional issues, authority, who's going to do what, why are they here. Like you say, there's a drug problem, and we need to address that. And we did meet with the chief at the last Law and Order meeting. And we did ask him, who are these people under? And he did advise that they're under their own command. And we advised him to come back and make a report on what they're doing. I think we should stay the course and bring him back and bring the BIA officers to us and have them make a report to us and their findings, because that's important. There's a lot of issues out there, but we tend to get alarmed when our relatives get stopped, close friends get stopped. There's drug trafficking going on a reservation. And when you stop people, they may find drug traffickers, transporters. That may be the reason why they're stopping these vehicles, because a lot of these findings are on vehicle stops. I know there's several council members that were stopped when we had our meeting with the meth issue in Kyle coming back. And the hope, maybe, things like that, I think we it's a legitimate request to stay here till we eradicate all drug issues, but that's not going to happen because of the fact that they're not here forever. We need to have our own officers do the job. You know, if they do their job, then we wouldn't have so much problems with drug issues. We have a lot of community members in the cluster homes calling us. We know who the dealers are. There they are. And I've seen them making stops at one house, just right across from me, et cetera. These are the type of stories we hear. And this now they have the opportunity to go to these drug people and let them know where they're at. Maybe they would address the issues and their locations where they're dealing from. So, you know, we can bring them back and make them have a full report. Thank
Right,
you.
and I will reach out to Mr. Young first thing tomorrow morning, or I'll send him an email tonight, maybe to come to your next Law and Order meeting. But also, Councilwoman Little Hawk, I did brief you guys whenever I came to your HHS meeting that you guys had at the Ramcota. And I know because Councilwoman Mills asked me a question about that. So, and I told you guys, I gave you a briefing that I just left the BIA office, and that's what I was doing. Councilman Wilson.
Good job, Mr. Chair. You took a bite out of crime. That's what I'm going to say. People actually feel a little safer in their communities with them driving around. And we can make excuses. If you're getting thrown in the back end of a cop car, you broke the law. You're going to go to jail. You guys made the laws that way, so they go to jail. So if you're going to be mad for your cousin or your brother or your friend getting thrown in the back of a cop car, because he broke the law. He broke the law that you guys wrote. This is the first time. I'm glad there's more officers here. People are happy they can feel a little safer, you know? I mean, come on, guys. This is crazy. You want to fight meth, but we're mad because somebody's getting thrown in jail in the back of a cop car and getting mad at the chair about it? Let's move on.
All we're saying is communication, that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mardanian.
We already voted on my resolution that got forwarded and changed, yeah, a blanket timeframe. But the reality is I guess what we're saying in coming from Law and Order is we should have a strategic plan of how we're going to address it and be really focused and targeted when we're looking at the meth epidemic and the violent crimes as a result of the meth use. So, the Attorney General provided us with numbers from 2019. When we look at alcohol-related arrests, that was 9,624, just alcohol. And then when we look at meth-related arrests, that was 299. So we really need to be focused. And that was for adults, 299 for adults, and for our youth, it was 11. So we need to be really focused on what we're going to do and how we're going to do that. But if we work in collaboration and coordination, we'll be more effective. So the right hand knows what the left hand is doing in regards to this effort.
Thank you. So I do have a motion and a second. I did not get a second for Councilman Leisbad's table motion, so I'm going to run the original resolution with Councilwoman Mardanian. No, we didn't even. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Minks,
Yes.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
James Cross,
No.
Sonia Littlehawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulentz, Valerie Janice, Valentina Mardanian, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
No.
Chancey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
No.
Randy Leisbad,
Yes.
Tw- 12 yes, 3 no. Motion carried. I'll reach out to him. Like I said tonight, I'll send him an email.
don't take it personal. Nobody's getting mad about the fact that the BIA cops are here to go after our drug dealers. We're all supportive of it. And I'll tell you that none of our relatives are part of the people complaining to us. Some of are coming from your district too. So all I'm saying is communication needs to happen. From bottom up, from the top down. But when we're just operating the way we're operating, then when people are questioning us about it, we don't know. And our chair here never did come to Law and Order and tell us that the Bureau was coming. And I'm gonna have to throw that out there. So maybe if he came to us and said, I talked to the president, I had a meeting with him, and so you guys, Bureau's coming. That did not happen in our Law and Order Committee. I'm the vice chair of that committee also. So out of respect, notify all of us, not after they're here.
Well, I did.
So don't take it personal. We're all in support of it. We sat over there at Piawichoni on the meth awareness issues.
Right, but I'm saying I did make you guys aware at your HHS meeting at the
But
Ramcota
all I'm
as
saying
well.
is, so don't take it wrong.
I'm not. I'm
that
just
some
trying
of
to
us are
clarify
not
because
for it.
I just don't
all
appreciate
we're saying is we're hearing
saying
from our
a
people,
miscommunication.
constituents. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston. You guys have my written report. The donations, they still come in from the storm. There's a total there. My assistant handles that to ensure that they do get upstairs and that we have a receipt and it's documented, and where we're asking the revenue office to place that money under the emergency assistance account. And then also we talked about last time I came to ask to be able to appoint the veterans to this veterans committee. Since it was started in President Still's administration 3 years ago, and it still wasn't off the ground. They're still not having their elections like they're supposed to in accordance with the charter. So I did appoint my assistant, who just retired out of the military, and I asked her to see to it that this Veterans Committee came together so that they can start working to meet the needs of the veterans, because that's very important, and that's something that we always talk about every election is veterans and their issues. So due to the lack thereof of the committee, I did put out to the communities, and I did ask each of you to bring names forward from members of your community or veterans of your community that can serve on this board. And the people there are the people that I did get letters of intent from.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
You know, we all got our treasurer's reports on our little iPads. And it says here you went to Albuquerque to get donations. I don't see that as part of your report. And I guess I want to know, because we took action 2 meetings ago, I think, where we don't want people going after donations because we never get a report back. It just says, like what you're saying, you know, it's sound like those are all monetary donations that came to the tribe that you gave us a report on.
Right.
So all the funds were given to revenue. But, you know, I want to know, what did you go after at Albuquerque on your travel?
That is something that I guess I'll bring to the next report, because we have a whole inventory, a lot of stuff
Okay.
that
That's
we're
what I
storing
wanna-
at the
but-
bingo hall.
people are asking us, why do they keep going after donations, but we never see anything?
Right.
So I
I'll-
guess I know you do that, former vice president did it, and I think we just need to start maybe asking questions in a constructive way.
Right.
You know, not to take it in an offensive way or nothing, but just know that council has a right to question those.
Right.
And so I just wanted to know, as I was looking at your travel, that you went after some donations in Albuquerque.
Right.
And so I was just wanting to know, and that was just recently, January,
Right.
but I didn't see it on your report.
Yeah. I
So
think that
that's why I
might,
was questioning that.
okay, that might have just been something left out, and I'll get that, and I'll add that to a full
But
inventory
you're still
of
over there.
what is at the bingo hall.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I'm just asking that because we just need to make sure, you know, where is these donations going?
Right. So I guess, I don't know where, we do, I have a service log for everybody that comes into the office that receives anything that's from those donations. And we don't ever specify who, I mean, just when people come, we give it to them with no questions asked. We don't ever, it don't matter who they are, what district they're from, they're tribal members. So we try to accommodate them if that's what's there. A lot of it is non-perishable items, diapers, milk, baby formula, food, hygiene, napkins, paper towels. But I'll get a full inventory, and I'll bring that to include that in my next report. Councilman Jumping Eagle.
I think we're gonna lose quorum here. I know we are. Can we recess till tomorrow? I know we have them hearings, but if we could start early, we can get done. Maybe start at 8. I could be here at 8.
Right, and that's what I did talk to the vice earlier, if that was gonna happen, was to reconvene until 8 o'clock. But one thing I do wanna, just so it concludes my office and we can move on to the next one, is I need a supporting resolution for appointing all these members to this Veterans Committee so they can get started on. Councilwoman Rodanian?
Chair, in regards to this veterans groups, they're filed as a charter.
Right.
And so therefore, we cannot interfere with appointments to the charter's executive board. That's like us interfering with OLC and appointing their executive board
Right.
to that charter. So therefore, we cannot approve your recommendations for those appointments because we're interfering with the charter.
But
They need to have their elections. They need to follow their charter.
Right, but see, there was nobody a part of this board, and they didn't even have a quorum to make decisions. That's why I asked this body when I came, and we made
Okay.
that amendment to the charter to do an appointment by the president, and it was supposed to be brought back for your guys' approval.
So if you read the charter bylaws, you have a CEO who's appointed in there. It's up to that CEO to follow through with the charter. That CEO is responsible. That CEO is listed within that charter. So I recommend that your CEO follow through with what needs to happen with the elections on this charter.
Right, and there was no CEO
Yes,
not
there
for the
is.
Veterans Committee.
Yes, Mr. Ramon Bearrunner was appointed on the CEO. If you look at the former resolutions that were passed by council.
Right, and there was a lack thereof. That's why I said this, it was failing, and he wasn't doing anything with it, and that's why he removed himself and put himself on, he changed his contract to deal with the census because he wasn't addressing the veterans issues. And so when Ms. Spotted Bear came in, I asked her to get this off the ground because Mr. Bearrunner was appointed to do that since John Still's administration, President Weston's administration. And they didn't even have, like I said, they didn't even have a board. So the veterans were being neglected. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I removed him from that capacity and I put Ms. Spotted Bear in there. So I guess I'll just have her follow along with the charter.
Question two on that same line. Some of them, as you look at them, some of the districts don't even have a representative.
Right.
And some, like our district has one, but we don't have an alternate.
Right.
So, we'd like to at least, through that charter, at least give our districts some input as to who they want to put in there.
Right,
Because we
and-
got veterans in our district too.
Right.
And we need to allow for them to at least, given the opportunity to sit on that, under that charter.
Correct.
And so I know we dealt with that before under Law and Order Committee, and I know like what Tina is saying, Ramon was the one assigned to sit on there. All the other ones that came expressed concerns, but I don't see none of them on there now. I think they might have just walked away, from it. But we had some that were really they were working, they participated in that.
Right.
But now I don't see none of them on there.
Right.
And so I
And
think
like I
it
said,
give us
these
the
were-
opportunity to, maybe meet with our district on those.
Right, and that's something that you're welcome to do because that was when I first came to this committee. We went into executive. I explained what was going on. We came out of executive and I asked you guys to change the charter so that I could make the appointment. And some of these districts I had a hard time locating any veterans from. So I asked every one of you if you guys can bring recommendations or find people and ask them to get a letter or a phone call or something so that I can get each district represented. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you even if you bring people after the fact, I don't know if you want to. Yeah.
Good evening, President and Council. So my name is Julian Spotted Bear, and I was appointed as the president of the committee. The committee was not there. There wasn't a place for veterans, and I can only speak up for myself as far as where we can go to address any issues or any assistance that we need, other than our tribal VSO, who's doing a fabulous job. But there is, as far as additional services, firewood, carpentry, training, education on what's going on for our veterans and what can be assisted through our veterans. That's what Julian had asked me to organize and bring back to what the ordinance 15-22 was supposed to have done in the past. So up until now, we've had 2 meetings, and one being a nominative meeting to assign board members. We have done call-outs on social media, and we also have went to the Veterans Hour on Keeley Radio, and we've asked that any veterans come forward. We let them know when our meetings are and when to attend. I've asked for mass participation, so we know who is out there. In the future, we plan on, once we get our vehicle, the van that was donated to us, once we get that up and running, we do intend on going out to each district, and we've discussed this on numerous occasions, and going door to door and accounting for all of our veterans out there and what their needs are versus what their wants. We're working in providing donations. We're working on fundraising for ourselves because we understand that we also have to run a powwow that's annual, and it's a 3rd annual. So we have a pretty good team on there, and we're asking that we be recognized because we do have a lot of opportunities that can bring a huge amount of support to our veterans out there. And the personnel that we have on this board are motivated. I'm motivated. I've been gone for 21 years. I'm here, and there has to be an absolute change because I've come back to the same thing. And I made a joke about it that the only thing that's changed is Taco John's is shaped differently. We have to do something for our veterans, and we need to do it right now. And I'm asking for your support. And as far as funding, we're working on that. We're going to do community services. We're going to provide for ourselves eventually, and eventually we will come to you and we will ask that we do become a part of your budget so we can continue to provide this for our veterans. So if you have any further questions.
Just to comment, thank you for that. There was, I know it was brought up in your meeting last week about the veterans shelter or the veterans house out to the casino, and we did get a resolution last Friday that was turned over to the Prairie Wind Casino, and so at one time it was the veterans, but there's already an action in place that if the casino ever moves and get a C-store or a convenience store, that a percent of that will go back to you guys to help you guys with whatever you need to use the money for. So just FYI, okay? Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That was one of our goals, was to get a hold of that C-store, because that would have been utilized as a revenue for the Veterans Committee as well. Because we're not only just the committee for the Oglala Lakota veterans. In respect to our legions and our posts that are out there and our associations that are already developed, we'd be the blanket for those committees to provide a funding in the future. Not right now, because we are working on that, but that's what we intended to do, and we were hoping, so it's unfortunate that we missed out on the C-store, but something like that is what we needed your support so we can move forward with the resources that we have in order to get funding and assistance and getting it to where it should be to provide resources, which ultimately would have provided a revenue for the tribe as well. Thank you.
Do you have anything?
we know we have more than 92 veterans at this time, but that's the type of information we should be collecting and having out there and being supportive of our veterans, because that's what they fought for, and they deserve those services. So I strongly hope that they follow the charter and have the elections. Thank you.
Right, and that was the whole point of appointing them, was just so that they can get to that point where they can have the elections this year with our elections. It wasn't to appoint them for forever or a 2-year term or whatever. It was just so that they can meet that point because the last time they didn't have elections was because they didn't have money to pay for the election. So if they couldn't pay, that's why I wanted somebody in there so that they can start bringing in funds and sustain themselves to get themselves to that point where they can effectively be a chartered organization. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston?
Oh, when you touched on that, but they have no funds to have election. I always said in the committee that we should have provided funds for the veterans so they could have had an election. So why didn't we do that? We give money to everything else. Why couldn't we give money to the veterans to hold an election under that charter so that it just doesn't keep reappointing itself? You know what I mean? Because every president that comes in appoints someone. So you're appointing someone, President Weston appointed someone, President Steele appointed someone. Some of us been in this council, so we know that it's just like that. So we're not following the charter when it comes to the election. That's what we're saying. So, thank, Julianne for coming and letting us know about where it's gonna go and, the vision of how they wanna see it. I really believe that we need to start moving that way when it comes to our veterans, because some of us we always speak of the veterans because, I'm married to a veteran too, and I really do strongly say that, why couldn't we put money aside in the general fund? Every time we passed a budget, why couldn't we have a line item that said veterans? Why couldn't we say that? I'm not on finance committee, but why couldn't we ever put it in the general fund to say veterans line item? But I never see nobody propose that. But yet we give them the hardest time to move forward with anything. So now we found out with the resolution that he talked about that the Prairie Wind Casino does have ownership of that building. And they are going to be moving forward with a convenience store. But we also asked, I think 2 administrations ago, that we wanted a percentage of that to go back to the veterans. So that's going to happen. So we look out for our veterans. So I just want to say that for the record today. So let's let it work, but give us time to get somebody to work with you, or go to the districts and work with them. On some of those ones are no representation, some have no alternates. So maybe you could go to the districts and meet with them.
Right, and that's what we were requesting, is for the council members to bring forth any names, because eventually we intend to go out and, like I said, go to each individual house and account for our veterans out there, because that helps us also identify numbers and also what their needs are. Another goal that we are looking towards are being a proxy for our HUD-VASH vouchers, because there are applications out there, but they're not being utilized. So we also have resources to possibly bring in, assistance. So we'll be coming to the HHS committee and speaking with the committee as well. We just want to ensure that we do it the right way and respectfully.
Councilman Yellowhawk?
Yeah, it looks like we have motivated leaders in that organization. I think we should look forward rather than looking back and say, oh, how terrible things are. I think you're bringing some positive feelings out here, and I support that. As a charter, you're eligible for grants or proposals, et cetera. With the leadership you're building, maybe we can move forward and make a good, viable organization where not only you can help the veterans out there in the communities, because we have a lot of veterans out there asking for assistance, firewood, propane, this type of activities, and we help them. And the organization, if you build it up, it can do a lot. And I thank you for being in that position. I think we we need to support the organization, move forward. You know, here we go again, here's the charter, we can't touch it, we can't do anything, we sit here for another 6 months not doing anything. Let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Yellowhawk. Councilwoman Janice?
Thank you. I wanted to make a motion to approve of the president's report and also have the districts on here that don't have representation or need an alternate to work with Julianne and fill them in so that they can bring in the revenue, start working on that process to have the election with our election when we have ours.
Thank you. So I got a motion by Councilwoman Janice, second by Councilman Goodcrow. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Can't we separate do the report separate and then take action on the other one next? Because
Right.
With the exception of having the districts with no representation or needing an alternate to work with Julianne and get them on there.
the reason I say that
Right.
is, the reason I say that is, I don't want to vote because I don't feel like I want to accept the president's report, but I also support the veterans. And I would like that separate because it makes it hard for us to vote on two things at once when you don't agree with both, and then you're the bad guy if you don't, you know what I mean? So I would like to, on here it says the president's report, he did his part here, but I think the veterans one, because I do support that.
Right,
But I
and
don't-
that is part of my report. I mean, that's something that I said I was gonna bring back to you guys, so that's why it's all in one, so. I do have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Minks,
Yes.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
No.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Here.
Jackie Sears,
Yeah,
Vincent Tulance, Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian,
Here.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Yes.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Eleven yes, 4 no, motion carried. Thank you, Tribal Council.
Thank you.
So moving on to the Secretary's office. Item A, approval of the Tribal Council minutes for September 3rd, 2019. Got a motion by Councilman Cross. Second by Councilwoman Janice. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Minks,
Quick question on that before we run that one. But why are we just not approving September 2019's minutes?
that one was, with that packet during that time, the minutes were not, submitted with the complete packet. So they're in here to review.
Okay,
So that was just a mistake of not including it within that packet. But they're in this packet here.
so October, November's, we already approved those?
Those ones are already done.
Okay, so
This is
September
the
was the
only
only
one.
one? Okay. All right, after we run this, I have a question for her. Okay.
Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Minks? Dwayne Yellowhawk? Garfield Apple?
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons? James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston?
Ha,
Jackie Sears?
uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance? Valerie Janice? Valentina Merdanian? Ryan Jumping Eagle?
Yes.
Bo Little White Man?
Yes.
Chancey Wilson?
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow?
Yes.
Randy Laisbad?
Yes.
14 yes, 1 not voting, motion carried. Item B, approval of the executive committee minutes, December 16th and 24th, 2019, January 1, 2, and 6 of 2020.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston?
You know, last Friday, we had an EB&D meeting in Rapid City, and the Prairie Wind Casino was still going by the ordinance. I think it was 17 dash on our district allocations formula. And so I questioned them about, we just had an amendment to that ordinance, 19 dash something. And so Jennifer, you pulled it up and we read it. The Prairie Wind Casino was still going by the 17 dash, can't remember the number, but because they never received the ordinance since July 19 dash that made the amendments were, because Wakbamni has 3 council reps now, we had to amend the ordinance so that formula changes. So they never knew that because they never got the ordinance. And so I'm just letting the secretary know that some of our committees, we've been kind of running into that now, that some of them are not getting these ordinances or resolutions from the secretary's office. So I think we addressed that in some of our committees. So we need to bring that to your attention since you're the secretary of the Oglala Sioux tribe. You need to, when we question where does this ordinance go or this resolution, I think you need to make sure with every council action that we take, those resolutions and ordinances need to go to the appropriate entity. So
That's right. We did, I did discuss this with the ENBD secretary because
Okay.
we have gone through plenty of ENBD secretaries where
Okay.
things have been, you know, we don't know if everything has been straight to us or to the programs. So whatever we pass within the council, we send them out to the program directors or wherever they need to go, streamline to. But this is why I set a meeting for Thursday for all the chairs, the chief of staff, and all the committee secretaries, and all the executive board members and their administrative, so that we can all be on the same streamline of how things are getting processed out to each committee. Because of course, like you all spoke of, there's lack of communication. So we need to have a streamline in some way to get everything on the same page. So that would be, that's what we're gonna discuss, and that's what we're gonna build, is that streamline. So, and I apologize, I don't, you
Yeah.
know, like I said, there was miscommunication with all those BNBD secretaries coming through.
Okay,
So
so
we
I just wanted
have-
to
we
bring
are
that to your
aware of that.
attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Bill was still going by ordinance 17 dash something, and they were shortchanging us at the tribal level. They
And on
weren't giving
another
us our
part,
full
that was
formula,
on
so.
their mistake for not following up on the ordinance that was brought to them, or that they brought to the table. You know, they should have, they've known that
Yeah,
it was out there.
But no. Whenever we take actions here at the tribal council, it's your job to make sure that they all go out to the appropriate.
Exactly.
And your secretaries, and I know Stacy's been there for a while, but you got secretaries that been there too, long
Mm-hmm.
time. And I think that if whoever role it is for each of those committees, they need to make sure those go out to the appropriate entities. So all we're saying is that they never got nothing, they said.
Right, and
So,
so this is
yeah,
why,
so
you
we're
know,
just gonna, we're just putting that out there too, so you could address it with your
yeah,
secretaries.
I hope everybody attends this meeting so we
When
can
is
get
that
it
gonna
all.
be?
Thursday at 2:00,
We're at,
here.
in the council
the
chambers?
chambers.
Okay.
Executive board meeting minutes.
So I didn't get a motion for the approval of the executive committee minutes. Councilman Goodcrow, second by Councilman Apple. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Inks? Dwayne Yellowhawk? Garfield Apple?
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons?
No.
James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston?
Ha,
Jackie Sears?
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance? Cora Whitehorse? I'm sorry, she's excused. Valerie Janice? Valentina Merdanian? Ryan Jumping Eagle? Bo Little White Man?
Yes.
Chancey Wilson?
No.
Philip Goodcrow?
Yes.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Yes. 11 yes, 3 no, 1 not voting. Motion carried. Thank you, Tribal Council. Treasurer's report. Councilman Cross.
Before you came back and sat in your chair, President Red Runner, we, well, I don't know if I got approval from council, but we,
Oh, yeah, I was tracking
we
that.
were trying to get to that Haynes investment. Here you switch gears on me, so. And Mr. Gunn,
Okay, so
It's getting late
you
now,
needed
so-
executive for that, right?
well, I just wanted to throw it out there to see, because I know some of them are leaving, Jim Meeks is past his bedtime.
If you leave, you break quorum.
Right, we're at 14, Mr. Meeks.
for the construction and financing of the new tribal government building and one or more community centers, and directing the ENBD committee to bring the RFPs back to the tribal council for approval and advertising. Whereas the Oglala Sioux tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux tribe. And whereas under Article 4, Section 1F, 1K, 1M, and 1W of the Tribal Constitution, the Tribal Council has the authority to manage the economic affairs of the tribe, protect and preserve property of the economic affairs of the tribe, adopt laws governing the conduct of persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and adopt laws protecting, promoting the health and general welfare of the tribe and its members. And whereas on September 4th, 2019, the Tribal Council passed the resolution numbers 19-195, 19-196, 19-197, authorizing the tribe to enter into the proposed office building development agreement with the YNS Service LLC, a proposed investment banking agreement with the Municipal Capital Markets Group, and a proposed Class 2 development and equipment placement agreement with the YNS Gaming 1, excuse me, LLC respectively, and whereas the proposed agreement were never consummated or signed by all parties, and whereas the Tribal Council elected to perform further due diligence on the proposed projects and agreements, and whereas the Tribal Council enacts this resolution to rescind resolution numbers 19-195, 19-196, and 19-197. Authorize the Economic and Business Development Committee of the Tribal Council to prepare requests for proposals for the construction and financing of a new tribal government building and one or more community centers, and direct the ENBD committee to bring the RFPs back to the Tribal Council for approval and advertising. Now therefore be it resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby rescinds resolutions number 19-195, 19-196, and 19-197 to rescind and withdraw any authority granted by the Tribal Council to the Tribal President, or in his absence, the Vice President, to execute or enter into this contract. And be it further resolved, the proposed contracts are hereby rendered null and void, and the Oglala Sioux Tribal Legal Department is hereby authorized and directed to send notice of this resolution to each of the proposed contracting parties. And be it further resolved that the Tribal Council hereby authorizes the Economic and Business Development Committee of the Tribal Council to prepare requests for proposals for the construction and financing of a new tribal government building and one or more community centers, and directs the ENBD committee to bring back the RFPs back to the Tribal Council for approval and advertisement. Certification.
Councilman Apple? Motion to approve? Motion to approve, second by Councilwoman Mills. Also, for the record, I acknowledge Councilwoman Mills at 20:05. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jim Meeks,
Yes.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple. Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance, Valerie Janice, Valentina Mardanian, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
No.
Bo Little White Man, Chancey Wilson,
No.
Philip Goodcrow,
Yes.
Randy Laysbad,
Yes.
Nine yes, 5 no, 1 not voting. Motion carried.
I'm sorry. Nikina Mills,
Huh.
10 yes. She even motioned.
Acknowledge Councilwoman Mills' vote. It's 10 yes, 5 no, 1 not voting. Motion carried. I'll call us into recess at 2019. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 8 a.m.